And, you know, probably expecting them as well, so we're not going to get any really shock and awe here in this best of 3. Not unless MaSa can really mix things up. In the bottom left, starting off on Oxide, we have the red Protoss player. For Alpha X, it's Astrea.
In the top right-hand corner, our blue Terran is MaSa.
Hey, oh, okay, we're gonna have some SCVs being pulled. All right, then. I was gonna say, before I saw the little dots go across the map, and now this is super awkward because the probe just saw the SCV, although maybe if he hides the second one, hold on, he's gonna hide the second one, but obviously his proxy's gonna be.
As well.
Yes, sorry, he scouted. He didn't scout the first one already building the barracks.
I know. It's like a little crazy, right? Like, in a way, this might work out because now you're proxying 2 racks and you're going to show one. No, you're not showing a show one. Okay, well, it's just a straight up proxy, guys, and Astrea should know about it. So this is amazing info for Astrea. Like, he's got a good read on it. He's going to get a scout now as well to see it's 2 racks. No, it's 3 racks. A little bit different, I suppose. You know, it's a little bit more all in. Well, I mean, we'll see if he actually finds out about it being 3 racks or not. But either way, I mean, he's going to start a Zealot here. He won't expand it right away, and he should look towards the batteries soon as well.
Right, exactly. And with the fact that he's gone for the Reaper wall off, he has a neat little place to put his shield battery out in the ramp. So there's really not much to say here, unless the first wave of Marines can do the damage, because you do have to wait for the 7X core to really bring out the big baddies of the Protoss, which is a shield battery and a stalker, which can out-micro any number of Marines, technically, perfectly done. So, you know, until that point, MaSa's got a chance, but this was, I think, supposed to be a little more of a surprise, how maybe even catch Astrea being kind of funky and going for a low ground expand or a low ground wall. But now it just catches him totally aware of what's going on. There's the stalker. Not gonna bother. There's a shield battery as well. There we go.
Yeah, the battery just makes life a little bit easier. I mean, this is going to be stacking up a good amount of Marines very quickly, so let's see. There's only 1 pylon power and everything. We pull probes right away. Going to focus some probes on that SCV. The Zealot taking a lot of hits. The Stalker about to be out. Of course, the Stalker can micro forever, but you've still got to have perfect micro, right? Because if you start messing up the micro, you let the Stalker take too many shots or get cornered, it will go down. And right now, didn't start another Stalker for a moment or two. Now we have the battery up, and that's a game changer, but it was only just coming up. The bunker's going to be done, though. This is problematic.
This is problematic, yeah. I think maybe Astrea maybe would have been better off pulling more probes, or probes the second time around to stop that SCV, but either way, it is kind of what MaSa was hoping for, that it would be a little bit of a scuffed start, and there goes the shield battery, there goes the pylon, only 2 stalkers. Now, again, technically, they can hold against a great number of Marines, but only if they have room to micro, which gets a lot more complicated when we're talking about you just stuck in your main base. But Astrea is not only defending. And MaSa, if he was able to get into the mineral line and see that there's nothing else building, might be able to figure this out. There's not much he can do about it. Whatever Astrea doing elsewhere that MaSa doesn't know, he's got to deal with it when it comes. And it is going to be a Void Ray right into MaSa's main base.
Yep, the Void Ray going to come straight through. Obviously, that's going to be great and all, but these Stalkers, they need to get rid of as many Marines as possible, because there's a lot of Marines building, right? Like, all of the time here. If you don't start getting rid of these Marines, eventually, I mean, 1 Void Ray, yes, will shut it down across the map, but eventually, does it do enough? Well, let's see. As Astrea does get back to mining, so you can maybe start up a 2nd Void Ray as well. Great to obviously stop SCVs mining here, but there's still 350 minerals. That's 7 more Marines still to be made. It's going to be a lot of Marines on the map.
Yeah, this is actually a pretty good game. The probes, once again pulled in here, are going to get taken down as the Marine fire is just too damn good. The shield battery can't quite cover it. Now the shield battery's out of juice. Shield battery overcharge is ready, though, and that is going to buy a lot of time. But MaSa, he just pulled the SCVs, man. He's just bringing everything across the map. It's getting really weird. Astrea going for Void Rays, of course, doesn't have to worry about buildings being lifted off. He'd still win if this went down to a potential base race, and that might just be what has to happen. Astrea can't combat all of these units.
I mean, absolutely not. What do you even do here? I mean, I guess you just trade as best you can. Stalkers are trying to shoot at Marines here while the probes hold the SCVs. The biggest Stalker gets caught. I think Astrea's just completely overrun as MaSa comes through. Probes are going down. And yeah, obviously, there's just, I mean, there'll be Marines in a bunker that the Void Rays can never get rid of, I wouldn't think. And so, I mean, it depends if you want to kind of fight with these Marines across the map. I guess the Void Rays can guard the Stargate. I don't really know where we go from here.
Right, yeah, that's the big problem. MaSa... Okay, so no more mining for anyone, of course. That's it. But MaSa's marine number at 16 is kind of feisty, even against 2 Void Rays. I mean, even 8 Marines is kind of feisty against 2 Void Rays. So I feel like he'd be more capable of splitting. And of course, he could also just take the barracks with him when he goes sharking around for the Stargate, which now he knows where it is. Whereas Astrea cannot do the same thing, I don't think. I don't think he can send 1 Void Ray to defend and 1 Void Ray to harass, because both waves of Void Rays die.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of this... I mean, these Marines obviously going to feel somewhat good against the Voids, but the Voids will have some micro potential, of course. They can maybe try and stay somewhat out of trouble as well. I mean, I don't know, ZG. It's just going to be a bit of a crazy situation, isn't it? Yeah, this is what we're going to watch. We're going to watch literally these Void Rays running around and trying to kite Marines.
I mean, it's the only thing Astrea can do, so I'm not laughing at Astrea, but it is funny watching a Void Ray prismatically aligned to desperately take down what is, 3 barracks plus 2 refineries that weren't taken down either. If there were 7 Void Rays, I think they'd have a shot at bursting structures down and winning the game, but then they also might have a shot against dealing with the Marines, so... Oh, Astrea's managed to afford 1 assimilator, which MaSa's going to see. Still got to depend on some high ground micro... mechanic here. He's gonna try and get all of them burning, which good call. There's only 78 minerals to repair. Skin got me talking crazy, but I don't know if he could actually get there. This is gonna be the most intensive micro battle since like Squirtle versus MVP.
I think you just send the SCVs across though, and the Marines can zone the Void Rays, and the SCVs will kill it. So I don't think it's
That's a good point.
Yeah,
the SCVs, they don't kill things fast, but they do kill things.
They do kill things. I think they're going to get the job done. Man, today's been really crazy. There's been a lot of favorites that at the very least have dropped maps, if not series. And this really is just going to be another one of them. The Probes here is like, I can help save it. I mean, this Simile is going to die. Astrea is DEAD.
He is. I mean, MaSa doesn't know for sure, but I think he's figuring out that is in fact the last building. Nothing else has been slapped down. Probe's dead, and Astrea taps out. MaSa. Oh, he takes game 1. That was, for the most part, fully scouted. I mean, the 3rd racks came down maybe a little bit later on the scout, but it really felt like everything was going okay for Astrea. And then the bunker got up, and the Void Ray couldn't really combat that many Marines at the end of the day. I mean, where exactly do you think Astrea went wrong? So I have my opinion, but I want to hear yours first.
I think his actual response was pretty bad. Like,
yeah?
I really think he should have been faster on the shield battery. I feel like he could have had the 2nd Stalker Sword much sooner. You can obviously target fire the SCV build in the bunker. I actually feel like you can pick apart so much of the early game, and looking back, you can really look at it and say, yeah, that was just not right, because knowing about it, this should never really be successful. Not in this kind of way, because this was really one-sided from MaSa, actually. Like, the Void Rays made it close, but they never really, made it a game, It just kind of drew the game out. So yeah, what are your thoughts?
I was going to say the same thing. I actually thought from the get-go it really wasn't the best handled, but then in the same line of thinking, that wasn't the best handled, why did he wait so long to maybe put the shield battery down or handle it back at home the way he did? I also want to say that Astrea got too fancy for his own good, which I do think that Astrea is still susceptible to. He wants to play the fun games. He wants to even be the aggressor a lot of the time. So he's going to find ways to subvert the usual defense in favor of something that he deems is maybe a little more cutthroat, a little more lethal. I'm not going to play this defensive game and give you a chance. I'm just going to go and kill you. But that actually makes the game really complicated, and especially his choice to go for Void Rays. I think either way, no matter what he gets from the Stargate, he'd already misdefended on his home front, so that's that. But I also was going to maybe bring up the fact that, why a Void Ray? It was actually a question I was going to ask, but I'll get into it after we get the introductions done on Blackburn. Bottom left, up 1, he is MaSa.
Bottom right, our red Protoss is Astrea. The Void Ray feels like a PvP thing, right? It's you get base raid one side, so you Void Ray the other side. It's aha, got you. I'm gonna be okay. It doesn't really work when there's Marines.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I was thinking, right? Again, maybe the Stargate in general was not the right call, but another proxy, just the hidden racks. But in general, like, the Void Ray is really only good at killing structures to a degree in this matchup. If it can get on top of production, that's the proxy Void Ray cheese, then it's also good because it kind of just stops production. It's literally on top of it. But we know if you go past the point of that type of cheese, if the Terran has a decent number of anti-air units, specifically Marines, Void Rays crumble, especially without shield batteries, which clearly Astrea wasn't going to get on MaSa's side of the map. So, again, I think the Stargate, don't want to hone on it too much because all you things you said about the home defense was already much more worthwhile being said. But I could have sworn he was going to get an Oracle, and then
maybe against like 2 racks it works, because I think a lot of what he did really got punished harder than usual because it was 3 racks, right? And those Marines are coming out even more quickly. So maybe then the Void Ray does okay. You get 2 Voids up and say there's like 4 or 5 less Marines. It's more plausible then, right? And it obviously takes longer for the Marines to actually clean up initially, so maybe it's more focused around did he actually scout the 3rd racks?
I thought he did. I thought his... Oh, no, he's right. This probe got caught trying to cancel one of the barracks, didn't it? Yeah, I think you might be right.
So if he doesn't know it's 3 racks, then maybe it's a missed defense because of that as well, right? Like, maybe it wouldn't have looked as bad if it was just 2 racks, so...
That's a lot of ways
to look at it.
The Void Rays could micro if there is maybe 5 less Marines. And then maybe also the Stalkers get 1 or 2 more Marines picked off because there's less Marines, right? But, by the way, this game, guys, MaSa did hide a barracks. He is going into a factory expand by the looks of things. Astrea is taking this seriously, but still expanding, trying to, balance right now. But the other thing I thought was going to happen was exactly what happened, which is MaSa was going to pull the SCVs. And then I was like, Void Rays are terrible at chasing SCVs. But at least in Oracle, although they do 3-shot SCVs now, far cry from the 6 years ago, I thought they might be able to, like, one Oracle, 2 Oracles, I don't know. Would have been able to at least take away the SCVs, but I think we've given about as many what-ifs about that last game as we could.
Yeah, I mean, it's nicely taking us through the start of this one as we get our Stargate coming up, so we'll see how Astrea wants to handle this in a more macro fashion, of course. Reaper's getting chased away, and MaSa is expanding, but it is up on the high ground, so he's being very cautious about his expansion. He'll get there in the end. Just something to keep in mind while you don't see it on the minimap. It is coming through.
Zella just kind of walks in. What's up?
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
Hey guys, so you do have a command, so I'll stop that.
The fact that it's full scouting is already really nice for the Zealot. I mean, this is a straight up mistake. There's no...
Yep.
There's no, oh, MaSa wanted to guarantee the Zealot kill. Like, no.
It's just really bad. And to actually lose like a bunch of SCVs when you're high ground expanding, like high ground expand is meant to remove any sort of problem like this, right? And then you still lose SCVs while high ground expanding. It's actually really bad.
Agreed. That's I mean, his build was eventually going to be scouted because it is a Stargate's follow-up here from Astrea, a nice tool to kind of cover everything that MaSa could throw at you. It got detection for Banshees. Phoenix would also tear them down. It does help against some of the tank pushes if you can lift in, and if it was a really, really early tank push, the Phoenix lift the tanks, and then we see a decent number of adepts built. We saw that in GSL Finals. So it's a really great response when you're not quite certain how the game is going to go. But now Astrea, he maybe has to change his mind a little bit about how he initially wanted to play Blackburn, and now he's going to decide what he wants to do with the Phoenix. So Phoenix Charge or Phoenix Colossus. Looks like he's trying to get a 3rd Nexus up and not his gases. So I'm going to go with Phoenix Charge, but yeah, we'll see.
I like Phoenix Charge as well. The one thing that Phoenix Charge is sometimes bad against is if it goes on a while, then you're Phoenix charging against like a field of Widow Mines, right? And the tank can make that one push with like 8 mines. And then you can look a bit silly if you're trying to Phoenix charge into it, but it's still overall a good composition. It's just one thing you should be kind of looking out for and being a bit careful about.
Do you think Astrea was kind of expecting something early? He has built a decent number of adepts, but even though it's not the literal earliest tank push that MaSa could do, it is still sizing up to B1. He's grabbing combat shields first, which all the time is going to be offensive here, even if it was defensive. It's not done yet. This is a very aggressive maneuver from Astrea. I feel like this is unnecessary, and it doesn't work too.
I feel like that was not the sort of time that you actually go for this sort of maneuver.
Yeah.
Like, the adepts dive in, yeah, they go on top of the tanks. They're not taking tank damage, but then... Well, the Phoenix didn't really lift anything or do anything there either. There was too many Marines. I don't really like that at all. I feel like that's not the play from Astrea. Got to be a little critical of how he's playing at the moment. Like a few weird decisions.
I'm absolutely in agreement. You know, and with the attack, he also, because we clearly invested into the attack, or he already invested into the adepts, and maybe he thought that he had to use them because he didn't like what he was seeing, a potential macro MaSa, and now he has useless adepts. But he also did, I think, just by having to micro the engagement, he was later to his +1 armor and his charge, which he actually needs as soon as possible. So even a 10-second delay could be big. MaSa is ready to go. He wasn't trying to get stim and combat shields. He went straight to combat shields to give the Marines a bit of extra health, and is then going to help with the push, where the tanks are going to anchor it, and the Marines can still, even without stim, burst down these Phoenix. Yeah, this defensive setup is not looking so hot for Astrea.
Wow, who cares about the third base? Just go kill the natural right now. Get rid of that battery. Get rid of the pylon. Oh my goodness, charge. I mean, he starts a Corona Boost charge. Astrea's like, oh my goodness, I'm about to die. And he really is. He's in so much trouble here. I mean, MaSa, the only thing you could say is that he's been even almost too passive, because it's almost too good of a situation to be true. As he moves up into the natural, charge will be done, and I suppose we'll see if Astrea can make this hold happen. The SCVs and a few more Marines coming across. Zealots have charge now. We're still looking for that +1 armor before we commit.
Yeah, I think he wants to wait for that. Cyclone does get bopped. Marine's going to target fire the Phoenix. Not quite going to find any, so finally the Phoenix being used, I think, to pretty good effect. And now it's all about the charge lots. The bunkers are coming down now. That's not just going to provide bunkers potentially, but just a little bit of a wall. So the Zealots have to wrap around it, but here they come. Tanks are lifted up. One immediately let go, and there it is, picked up yet again. The Marines without stim, not going to be able to combat the Zealots, and the Zealots, I mean, they are hardcore winning this fight. And actually, Astrea looked dicey up until charge was done, up until the Zealots got warped in.
I actually think he was dead. I think MaSa misplayed it, because he lost, like, what, those 5-6 Marines that forward, right? The SCVs weren't there as soon as they maybe could have been either. Imagine he pulls SCVs with the first push, and you start bunkering up right away. It's a completely different game. And then imagine you've got, like, 6-7 more Marines, plus a couple bunkers already up. I think that combination really would kill him. And even then, if MaSa had been able to, like, scan up in the natural and say, wow, you've got 4 Zealots, and just walks in right then and starts trading, what do you do as Astrea? Like, you have no battery there, you have no backup, you pull the probes, and then you lose a little load of probes and you're in trouble. I think Astrea just got it very lightly, because that should have been a lot more troubling than it was for him.
I agree. I think the one thing that MaSa might have been worried about, though, in his hesitancy to move up into the natural, was probably that the third base was where the Zealots were being warped in. If you can only see whether a scan or Marine, there's only 4 Zealots, you're gonna kind of do like wait a second, because you don't know exactly their situation. As good as you can get at StarCraft, unless you have our vision, you don't know how many gateways have already finished, if that charge is already done, and while you technically kind of got a glimpse of that, it just, it was still a very uncertain scenario for MaSa. If he looks back on it, he watched the replay 100%, he knows, I probably should have just moved in, but I do think you're 100% correct about the SCVs. It felt like MaSa didn't think the engagement was going to go as well as it did, and was like, oh, I should have pulled SCVs, and then he did. Yeah.
Well, this series is just wild, Zombie Grub. I didn't think we'd be kind of seeing it be like this. Astrea, where it looks as though he's just about scrambling together to get some games. We'll see who wins out in the end. I really think that Astrea can still come through and be the favorite here and just step up a little bit. But true NA StarCraft, really, isn't it?
It is. It is. I mean, even in that game, with MaSa's misplays, Astrea also had a lot of misplays. This is... I honestly expected Astrea to have more of a, batting away a fly type situation where only a second is scary, and then you go, oh no, he's totally fine. But that's... even that last game, even though the end was very convincing, even that game was not... me just looking at Astrea being like, oh, he knows exactly what to do. I'm a bit worried. If MaSa can throw in a third curveball to this game, then maybe he could actually strike Astrea out. We're on 2,000 atmospheres, fairly big map. MaSa is sitting on a CV, though. Top right, it is Astrea.
Bottom left-hand side, SCV on the map. Blue Terran is MaSa.
So, potentially 2 Roxing. Let's say the SCV would usually be situated building a barracks. It was the engineering bay block. All right, fair enough.
That's kind of a cool way to mix it up, although I feel like a lot of the pros players really got used to just what they want to do against an engineering bay block anyway, so it's not really as big of a deal anymore. But it's still nice because it can really kind of make, you can really say, hey, we're going to play my game now. You're not going to play your game for a little bit, so also that part of it's kind of cool. Let's see how this goes over the next little while here.
Astrea literally had to deal with this on this map, in these positions, against another North American Terran, Semper, just yesterday or the day before. And Astrea just took the third base as his natural, and then got a last-second scout on the follow-up 3 racks, and was able to handle it from there. The 3 racks is a cool way of playing the follow-up to an engineer bay block differently, but the Hellions in the factory is the more common way, trying to abuse the fact that Astrea can't cover both of his bases against very mobile units as easily as he would if it was his actual natural. So I wonder, it does look like MaSa is setting up for the factory and into the, potentially the Hellions? Oh, Reapers. That's gonna, so it is a 3 racks then, right?
It has to be.
Yeah, it's got no gas anymore. It's got to be minerals somewhere, and then the only thing I think of is barracks. Oh, a 3rd CC! Or natural. Oh, damn. I didn't realize he hadn't said it was natural yet. I just assumed.
You said 3 racks, and I was like totally on board. I was like, 3 racks! I also just assumed there was a natural on the low ground. You had me with you, ZG. I was along for the ride.
Well, yeah, because he already had a reactor, he already had a supply depot, but it wasn't a super quick second gas. So I feel like we're not crazy. This was just kind of an unorthodox way of getting to this build. But you know what? We were ultimately correct.
It's kind of the mind game as well, right? Because now you don't know as Astrea exactly what's going on behind. So it's that aspect too. Do you like the Double Reaper? I really just don't think it's worthwhile. It's so expensive, and it really slows down a lot of your other stuff. I really feel like it has more negative connotations to it than the positive ones, as we do maybe kill a sentry just to prove me completely wrong. So that's kind of nice. So yeah, I mean, in this case, brilliant. But
I think this is actually a really cool addition to the build that I don't remember Semper doing. So it's not even about the damage that they have done to the probe line, although in this game it is about the damage to the sentry. 2 Reapers guarantee bring back whatever unit's on the map. So if it was an Adept that's flying across the map, shading across the map, then it brings that back because you're like, oh no, that's a decent amount of units. Or at least makes them kind of stutter and they're just like, I don't know what to do. If it's a sentry, then you can straight up kill it, as we saw there. And that takes away the scouting as well. So no hallucination, no Adept shade that finishes on the main base, which is how we saw Semper's 3 racks follow up. And as you pointed out, the reason for that later command center, but more of an awkward start, was that he was already hiding things. Astrea really has no idea what is following up. That's the whole reason he got the sentry, and he just lost it.
Yeah, actually, the Double Reaper in this case, I like it a lot more. I feel like in my head I was thinking like Double Reaper is more like standard 3 rack sort of thing, but the whole engineering bay block and everything else, actually, like, it really comes together nicely. It really works out, and this is a perfect example of how it can work out. These 2 stalkers are trying to micro on either side, picking up some marines, and we're doing okay, taking a lot of damage now, though still surviving. As there's a bit of back and forth, and MaSa needs to kind of stop losing marines, otherwise his attack will never really be scary. Tries to catch that stalker, doesn't quite get it.
I wonder if Astrea can tell what the opener is. No, I don't think so. Because it's just, his reactor so fast.
It's just reacted marines, right? Like,
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's only going to get the information now with the hallucination. So he did have to make, another sentry, but he was already going to make a couple. So that's the confirmed 3 racks. He got a robo when he was still uncertain of how things are going to go. And I don't mind that. I mean, I think it still depends on having a shield battery, maybe buying some more time, but I think Astrea is okay against the actual 3 racks portion of this. I am interested in the, ramifications of opening the way that Astrea has.
Yeah. It's, I really feel as though when you look at kind of what Astrea's got right now, it's like, great, you got him more, like, on your way to your Robo Bay, but how long is it going to be until the Twilight upgrade takes to the stage? Like, you're just going to have, like, I mean, and not even yet, but eventually you're going to have a Colossus, right? And that's a little bit down the line. If that first Colossus dies, you just got nothing to protect it. You got no follow-up. It's very scary, as sentries and force fields are going to be absolutely essential here to make sure these Marines and Marauders can't do anything. If I'm MaSa right now, I don't mind him just backing off and then just waiting for the first Colossus and trying to fight around there.
Exactly. Did he see the Marauder, by the way? I wasn't on the vision. I'm not sure. So MaSa doesn't quite know what his opponent is following up with, but if he does save his units, if he does start going for drops, that is specifically what I was talking about, the consequences of Astrea's opener. Yep. So he's not going to have much anti-air.
Yeah, there's just zero way to really deal with it. And now you go Blink. Well, the problem with going Blink right now is that it's going to mean that charge is even freaking later. So yes, you kind of need Blink for exactly what you just mentioned with the drops. But then if you don't have charge at 8 minutes in the game, 8.5, there are some Terran pushes that are going to have, just have your life, really. I'm a little bit worried about where Astrea is at right now. If MaSa plays this right, I feel like he could end up in a really good spot.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Astrea is not doing something that's so totally unorthodox and is clearly just a weird end to his journey. Like, there are people who still try to use third base into Robo. But I think Astrea is more than well aware of, like, what the complications are. A lot of Stalkers are positioned in the main base, but MaSa still goes for it. He's going to lose. No, not quite. Both Medivacs. There we go. A lot of Stalkers went down in the trade, some Zealots as well, but I think that might be good enough because the Colossus is going to pop eventually. Trying to go after the probes, though. Trying to get what he can. Going to go after the Pylon, actually, which does not depower the Colossus. And this will be cleaned up. And this is all with Astrea still having a large force off to the left.
Yeah, I feel like this is not quite it for MaSa just yet. A Dark Shrine coming through for Astrea as well, so he's going to have some good harassment potential following up from this also. So I feel like that part of this is absolutely going in the right direction. If you're cheering on Astrea here, definitely feels like he's taking steps to, well, get into kind of a winning position now. Big attack from MaSa as everything is pulling. The SCVs are on the way. So we're going to have this one big timing. There's not going to be Colossus range right away, so there's definitely some potential. There's definitely some weaknesses to what Astrea has at the moment.
Yes, but I already feel like he's done an okay job surviving to the point that now, he didn't take that much damage in the main base. He took out the double medevac drop, which could have been alongside this push, and he's up to 3 Colossus. So even if he had to abandon ship on his third, which, hey, he might. I think he's still okay. He even has a Dark Shrine. 1 scan is used, but they're going to be running out of scans very soon. SCVs get slaughtered. Oh. Now the bio pounces right on top of 2 of the Colossus. Shield already overcharged. Oh, just good enough to save the second one. And that's all the buffer gone. The tanks now far behind. The Zealots wisely on hold position. And again, Astrea, worst case scenario, just gives up the face.
Yeah, I mean, it was close to that Colossus, but that was kind of a real do or die moment. Without getting it, well, it's just never going to be enough for now, right? I mean, these Marauders will try and make a move, but there's so much on the ground. There's so many gateway units in the way. It looks very, very good. There's a DT swiping away at this as well. There's DTs across the map and all sorts, and it does look as though MaSa's just going to be whittled away at. And Astrea is going to end up winning this series, but man, there's really way more of a struggle than I ever thought it would be against MaSa.
Yeah, absolutely. That's MaSa, man. Like, yeah, start to count them out, not because of their perceived abilities, but because of their history. Astrea has just been winning against MaSa, and pretty convincingly as well. But as soon as you do that, MaSa comes in with just the cheekiest build and gets the victory. Even this one, I really like the game plan. The idea of trying to confuse Astrea so much, the Reapers to pull back any scouting or kill any scouting with the Sentry, then the drop to take advantage of specifically how Astrea went for a Robo follow-up. All of it, in theory, sounds like it could have been the coolest 1-2-3 punch. But especially when the double drops didn't really find a lot of success. They didn't stay a long time. They didn't stay alive. They didn't grab any Colossus. I think that's what really was the ceiling of the deal there. But even without that, I wonder if Astrea still would have been all right.
Yeah. I'm not sure how much power there really was for MaSa. Like, it just felt as though it wasn't quite ever gonna truly break through. Now Astrea's looking really comfortable. Of course, we're kind of waiting to see how this game is maybe gonna end. MaSa gonna go for one last-ditch attack or so, but Astrea obviously has plenty at this point.
Yeah. And, Astrea even, I think he might have even just predicted that would have been the follow-up play from MaSa there. Yeah. I think the addition of the Dark Shrine was really quite brilliant. Maybe he's been experimenting with earlier Dark Shrines just as macro games go. Okay, fine. But, you know, it's MaSa. He did have a pretty aggressive opportunity, and the Dark Shrine is it's a real kick in the nuts when it comes to SCV pools, because you know that even if maybe you do manage to win the first fight, you do overpower the units. You're just not having to deal with DTs running around, so they're not the easy win button, but they do help. It just, again, seems like Astrea. I guess this is actually the game I was expecting, of all the games, which is that Astrea may have had one or two kind of scary moments, and maybe this one's also scary. Big Doom drop to the main base, but ultimately brushes this off, no problem.
Yeah, that's kind of how it's meant to look, right? Like, MaSa can be tricky. He can do some weirder things, and he can bring some very powerful attacks. But Astrea eventually finds a way, as right now, just gotta clean this up. I mean, you're gonna force the lift. Love the Viking and get a Colossus, but yeah, it's still not gonna be enough. As the Disruptor over here is pretty cute as well. MaSa is really unable to get anything truly done. And it looks as though we've got ourselves Astrea again, just continue to take leads. And like we say, kind of eventually winning out this series, looking to stay in this undefeated position and looking for that match against Scarlet tomorrow, of course.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I'm a bit surprised that MaSa's still in here, but I think he is maybe thinking about the group standings and where this puts him. His last opponent is Dolan, so MaSa would be, I know I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but 80 supply difference, guys. MaSa would be, what, 3-3? Yeah, 3-3, which would put him on a even standing with Trigger, maybe Patty Mac if he wins his. Yeah, no, I guess, yeah. He got the map here, though, which I think is pretty good, but I think that's one of the reasons he's still staying in this, is that if he could just take the series, it'd be so much nicer.
Yeah, he's going to have a disadvantage on maps against Trigger as well, so if they both ended up winning tomorrow, then it would be kind of, MaSa would have to make up the map, so maybe it wouldn't even be possible. I'm not sure exactly. So, yeah, that definitely looks a little bit rough for MaSa in that regard, but it might not come down to that anyway. He might still make playoffs just in that 4th place instead of 3rd place. Anyways, this fight has been slowly kind of creeping up on us, and it's finally going to be here. The fight that really should be an end to this game. There is not much left at all, and Astrea finally sweeps through to get the cleanup. He's been